And in our final part of this, this is where I just knew I had to talk about this. I mean, granted, I already didn't like where a lot of the lyrics were going, but with the next lines that are mentioned, some of these are the same ignorant ideals that make lesbians beat up on, in some cases, not trying to say all of them do, bisexuals, because they assume that contact with a penis uh, makes somebody into something that they are not. And it creates these types of pockets of women who will attack physically other women because of assumption. That's not socially responsible. That's socially dangerous and uncalled for, to say the least. And what I'm about to read next is equally uncalled for and disgusting. So I'm going to back up for a small second to go to a one line up. Or no, two lines up. You want Romeo. You're not worthy. You're cock thirsty. You're nasty and probably got herpes. I will read that last line again because it bears repeating. You're nasty and probably got herpes. So, by your line of logic as presented by your lyrics, these women, they're not worth anything. They're promiscuous by nature. They don't know how to dress properly because all they do is make bad choices. They're constantly falling for the wrong guy, constantly, I guess, getting pregnant, and simply because of their choices, because they're sexually promiscuous, they're nasty and probably got herpes. In other words, they're dirty, they're tainted. In your eyes, as you're presenting it through your lyrics, any woman who dares to be sexually open, dares to have self-esteem, dares to express themselves in a sexually healthy manner that is safe, consensual, and without the involvement of children or the witness of children, they're dirty, they're nasty, they're probably STD farms. You're smarter than this, Hopsin. You really are. But part of why I even brought up the God thing is it seems like it's retarded your ability to critically look at these situations. It feels to me as if you are watching way too much Jerry Springer or too much Maury and saying that is America, that is culture, that is society, that's women in a nutshell. And all y'all need to cut it out. Not that I'm saying you'd use that vernacular. I'm not trying to insult you in that manner. But really, really, you act as if she happens to be a slut, as you have dubbed her, or cock-thirsty, she must have an STD, because there's no way that a woman can express their sexuality in a healthy and possibly frequent manner and not be nasty and STD riddled. Again, I'm just going off your lyrics and part of your interview that you gave. Links, of course, are down in the underbar. You're not doing anything to bring about something that is correct. You're upholding societal's idea that a woman, we shouldn't listen to the cries or the bellows of the sluts of this world, that they're non-people, that they're dirty, they're nasty, they're disease-ridden by the fact that they happen to have more than one partner or have had more than one partner because they haven't had sex before, because they've had sex before marriage. Never mind the fact that sometimes people are not compatible and that sex and sexuality is an important part of that. That with ideals like yours, we then wonder why marriages sometimes fall apart when people don't want to talk about sex. That sex is at marriage, that it's only one particular way, and that's the only way for it not to be dirty, for it not to be considered nasty, and for this woman, in your eyes apparently, not to be considered somebody who is an STD farm. Oh, how respectful that is to women who have done is what have these women done to you? I'm not trying to say that you're making this personal, but it's just I don't understand how or why you would say something so absolutely ludicrously disrespectful, not to mention ignorant, when you're better than this, you're smarter than this, way smarter than this. I get that you probably think that a woman who might be cock-thirsty, as you put it, is disrespectful to herself, that her body is a temple. But then should she choose to do with that temple what she pleases, the temple that was given to her by your particular God, by the way, you want her to allow her to have body autonomy until she displeases your sense of morality. And then it's wrong. And then it should be restricted. Then it should be blocked. And this woman should be shamed. Never mind the damage that shaming sexually healthy women in today's society does. Never mind the depression. Never mind the torture that these people do to themselves because they want to be considered moral people. And in my eyes, until they've done something that's truly immoral, they're moral. Because you're basing this off of society's morals, what you expect or what society expects. And what's bizarre about that is your song was almost a challenge against society, current society's ideals, in terms of these like swag kids and everything. Sometimes the secret to find is to stop searching. Try a new formula, 'cause your last one's not working. Now, I have no problem with that. I think that women at times are the often cringed at definition of insanity, or the non-definition of insanity. Basically, the non-definition being that doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I agree. And sometimes a lot of undue anti-male sentiment comes from a lot of these women who pick bad, evil men. And then at times they assign those attributes, not unlike what you're doing here with these types of women, these cock-thirsty women, on men. And yet you act like it's okay if you do it, it's not okay if they do it. And that's a very lopsided, one-sided way of looking at this entire topic. And that's why I had issue with it. This was very one-sided. Some of this is worth having a discussion about, absolutely. But to try to promote that slut-shaming is not only valid, but something that needs to be brought back into society, I'm sorry, no. And as my series on sex negativity in society and the harm it does to everybody shall illustrate, these are not ideals that should ever be promoted by anyone. I believe that a woman can still be virtuous and be outgoing. I've seen far too many people who've destroyed themselves trying to live up to standards like what you've put into your lyrics of purity. Standards that can sometimes be obtained, but at a cost. And then we have the issues with religious people in religious areas doing absolutely immoral things, and at times to children. And in a lot of cases, they don't even have a preference towards these kids, which is the even more bizarre thing about it. But it's that sexual repression, it's that sexual shaming, it's these rules about, well, these people can have sex and these people can't, but they can only have sex under certain conditions. And if they don't, then they deserve no sympathy. They deserve no anything. Look, I'm with you when a person is truly abhorrent. But this is where case-by-case basis comes into play. Like I've had to learn in life that compassion has to come with um, with limits, because some people become leeches and they can bring your mood down and they won't help themselves because they're getting too much off of draining you. And I've had to cut people loose, even though it's somewhat against my nature to do so. But I realize that it's far better to cut those people loose and let them figure out for themselves why they lost that friendship than to continue in onto that situation there. Some people present themselves as leeches, but I don't automatically cut those people off. I do a case-by-case basis. Some people correct themselves, others don't. I move on from those who don't, and I have a better life for it. And sometimes those people grow, and they have a better life for it. But simply overgeneralizing, simply trying to say that this is what's wrong with female kind, well, I'm sorry. But in some cases, some of the feministic backlash against you is absolutely right. And the sex negativity backlash against you is absolutely right. Because these are very, very ill-informed idealisms to have. Now, is this worth a discussion? Absolutely, or I wouldn't have made this video series. But there's having a discussion and then they're saying this is how women are and they needed to cut it the hell out. And I'm sorry, no. You don't get to say that, especially if you don't even have the slightest accurate idea of what it is to be a woman, especially in modern society, and what is truly purity and morality, and what is an overinflated sense of both of those, which is damaging to people, women, children, everybody. I know this isn't going to make a good bit of difference, especially I'm sure Hopsin's not going to see this, and if he does, I'm not entirely sure he's going to listen to what I have to say, but I had to say my piece. Even if it means I get backlashes from his fan groups, well, fine. But to that, I would say, prove me wrong. I've got a lot of research, I've got a lot of data, I've got a lot to present in the coming times. I'm not just pulling this out of my butt. I'm saying that this isn't a smart, respectful way to move forward in society and think that we're on the side of good versus evil. It's not that black and white. And your kind of idealisms are the kind of things that may ensure that people who do rape don't get convicted. And I don't think you want to support that now, do you?